Welcome to the home of the Ben-Gurion family. David Ben-Gurion was the founder of the State of Israel and its prime minister and defense minister for the first 15 years of its existence. He was among the founders and shapers of the Israel Defense Forces. This was the family's private home. The house was built in the 1920s and the family moved here in 1931. When Ben-Gurion was prime minister and defense minister, he divided his time between his home here in Tel-Aviv and his official residence in Jerusalem. Ben-Gurion bequeathed his house in Tel-Aviv to the State of Israel, stipulating that it became an institution for reading, study, and research. A year after he died, the house was opened to the public, as stated in his will. The house was originally about half its current size. The colorful floor tiles mark the original dimensions. In 1946, the ground floor and the second floor were expanded. The house has been preserved as it was. All the furnishings, pictures, and rugs are as they were when Paula and David Ben-Gurion lived here. When the house was open to the public, gifts, photographs with public figures, medals, certificates, and honorary titles were added to the display. In 1953, Ben-Gurion retired from politics, and he and his wife Paula went to live in Kibbutz Sde Boker in the Negev. He moved to Kibbutz Sde Boker to fulfill the vision of making the desert bloom and settling the Negev, which he considered key to the building of state and society in Israel, and so that he could practice what he preached. Ben-Gurion returned to the government in 1956 and remained in office until he retired in 1963. For all of those years, this house served intermittently with their home in Sde Boker as the private residence of Paula and David Ben-Gurion until he passed away on December 1st, 1973. Above the fireplace on the right is a photograph of Avigdor Green, Ben-Gurion's father, a significant figure in his life. After Ben-Gurion was informed of his father's death in 1942 while he was in New York, he wrote to his family, "He was a dear father, full of love. He was a faithful Jew. He was an honest and good-hearted man, sorrowful in the sorrow of others, and his heart was open. When I return home, I shall see him no more." This room belonged to Renana, Paula and David Ben-Gurion's younger daughter. When she left home for her studies in Jerusalem in the early 1950s, Ben-Gurion moved a small part of his library into this room. Ben-Gurion devoted this room to the Israel Defense Forces. On the shelves are modest gifts he received from the IDF and the security establishment. To Ben-Gurion, each of these items symbolized another milestone in Israel's progress towards independence and self-reliance. When the Sinai campaign, Operation Kadesh, broke out in October 1956, this room was repurposed. It was here that Ben-Gurion, who was then defense minister, lay ill during the fighting. Because the bomb shelter was in the building's yard and his physicians said he could not leave the house, a wall was built behind the window which turned the room into a shelter. From his sickbed, Ben-Gurion directed the campaign. Moshe Dayan, Army Chief of Staff at the time, described in his journal how he and his staff would come to Ben-Gurion's home every morning for meetings and updates. The war was mainly managed from this room. The kitchen has not changed since the house was enlarged in 1946. This is the way the table would be set for breakfast. Ben-Gurion would sit here, read the newspaper Davar, and listen to the news on a small transistor radio. From time to time, guests would join him. Paula, who was a registered nurse, looked after Ben-Gurion's health and nutrition. She would weigh him every day and serve him a dish she considered healthy for him, kuchmuch. The recipe is very simple, a mixture of white cheese, thin yogurt, and applesauce, sweetened with a bit of raspberry syrup concentrate, an artificial sweetener. Ben-Gurion didn't like it very much. Geula, Ben-Gurion's eldest daughter, said that after Paula passed away, when she would visit her father, she would be surprised to find him eating kuchmuch. When she would tell him, "Papa, Mama's gone already. You don't have to eat it anymore. You never liked it anyway," he would reply, I eat kuchmuch at least once a day, in Paula's memory. On the walls of the corridor are photographs highlighting Ben-Gurion as leader and statesman. They document his meetings with world leaders and international figures. In the display case, you can see correspondence between Ben-Gurion and the dignitaries in the photographs. On the wall opposite you are certificates and honorary degrees that Ben-Gurion received over his lifetime. Although his formal academic education ended after 2 years of law school in Turkey, he was awarded many honorary degrees in philosophy, law, literature, and architecture. You are now in the room used by Paula Ben-Gurion in her last years. David Ben-Gurion's bedroom was on the second floor, near the library and the study. Paula saw her main goal as protecting Ben-Gurion and her family and enabling her husband to devote himself fully to his public positions. She took it upon herself to manage the family budget and oversee the children's education. This became Ben-Gurion's bedroom after 1950. He chose it so he could be close to his books and his work area. He didn't need much sleep, and so he would write, read, and study books here and hold meetings in the central library room. Above his bed are pictures of his grandchildren. In one photograph is Galia, the eldest daughter of Amos, his middle son. In the other is Uri, the son of Renana, his younger daughter. A Bible always lay next to his bed. The library is the heart of Ben-Gurion's house and its most important part. It was also the reason that he bequeathed the house to the state so that it would become a public institution for reading, study, and research, enabling the public to make use of the rich collection. Ben-Gurion purchased and collected these books over 65 years. He read and studied them out of a strong urge to educate himself and prepare for the offices he held over a lifetime. When he came to live here, he already had thousands of books. Over the years, the collection grew to cover all of Ben-Gurion's expanding and deepening areas of interest, and more rooms had to be added to contain them. The library contains 20,000 books, consisting of more than 12,000 titles. Ben-Gurion's study at the end of this room remains as it was. Bibles in various editions and sizes are prominent on the desk. The Bible was a key source of inspiration in Ben-Gurion's life. He believed that the Bible was the secret of the triple wonder of Jewish history. Finally, on the left side of the desk, books and booklets in memory of soldiers who fell in Israel's battles are prominently displayed, memorial books and scrolls of fire. He would read the commemorative books that he received and respond to the soldiers' families, and he would arrange the books next to him close by, saying that he drew strength from them. In his opinion, they were the manifestation of the character of the youth in which he believed and in which he saw the future and greatest hope of the state. It was at this desk that Ben-Gurion put the finishing touches on Israel's Declaration of Independence on Friday morning, the 5th of the Hebrew month of Iyar, May 14th, 1948. Golda Meir, who was Israel's first ambassador to the Soviet Union in the early 1950s, said that one night at 1 a.m., she was called urgently to the embassy because a coded cable had arrived from the Prime Minister's office. The embassy staff had arrived swiftly and deciphered the cable, which had been sent by Ben-Gurion to Golda. It said, "What about the new Russian encyclopedia you promised me?" It turned out that when Golda left on her mission, Ben-Gurion had asked her to send him a copy of the new encyclopedia, and he hadn't received it yet. This encyclopedia is here in the library. After Ben-Gurion's death, the only books to be added to the library were ones about Ben-Gurion's life, legacy, and political and public activities. The library is cataloged, computerized, and open to the public. The books are available for reading at the Ben-Gurion House and are not lent out. Ben-Gurion's life is entwined with the history of the people of Israel, the land of Israel, and the state of Israel. Key chapters in his life parallel the milestones on the roads to Israel's statehood and after its establishment. For 15 years, he served as the General Secretary of the Histadrut Labor Federation during the critical time of the building of the Yishuv and its defense forces. For 15 years, he served as chairman of the Jewish Agency during the decisive years leading to the establishment of the state. For 15 years, he served as prime minister and defense minister during the momentous period that shaped the state and society in Israel.